I want to share with you this morning some situations that have occurred at our house that's sort of interesting. One day, a week or two ago, uh, we're outside and doing stuff, and we have a kitty. We have a cat called Emmy, and she was in the driveway. She's a black cat, and with some white spots. And down the street, someone was going for a walk, which was not uncommon. A lady, I think maybe she might have had a child. Actually, it was Mary that was out there and saw this. I wasn't out there at the moment at that time. And trailing them by 10 or 15 feet behind was this little kitty about this long and about that high, just walking along behind them. Well, that little kitty saw our cat and vice versa. And so she came into the driveway and our cat went under the car and the kitty went under the car for a conference or whatever they do. And after a while, the kitty came out, walked down the sidewalk leading up to our porch, walked up the porch steps and stood there at the front door. Now, how much more graphic can you get than that? You know, I want in. And so Mary went out and got her and would have taken her in, except that door was not unlocked and she had to take her into another one, but same difference. So we brought her into the house. We thought, well, this is interesting because our cat will get along with her because they've already met. Wrong. Utterly wrong. So as soon as our cat discovered that this intruder had invaded her space, that is our house, which the cat regards as her house, no doubt. Well, she turned, put on a different face and was very upset and angry and just throwing a fit every time, hissing, swatting, whatever. Well, that has continued. The only solution Mary and I have for this is to keep them in different rooms. Try to minimize the number of times one sees. Now, the kitty just wants to play with our cat, but our cat will have none of it. So we know people that presumably can communicate with animals. So we asked them, what's Emmy thinking? Well, previously we had another cat called Sammy. Now she's left, but it wasn't too long ago, 2 or 3 months. And Emmy's thought was, I finally got rid of Sammy so I could have the house to myself. And here's another one that's shown up. Well, we started calling this other cat Sammy just for lack of, we didn't know what his name was. And then this pet psychic said, and Emmy said about that, I don't like you calling her Sammy. Do you think I'm stupid or something? She's not Sammy. It never occurred to me that our cat would think we're trying to, how would I know? So so the psychic said, well, do you think you could, learn to get along with this kitty? And the answer was, well, maybe. We'll see, but what I learned was Emmy didn't want a new friend. She was happy as she was. She just wanted the whole house to herself. And enough so that if it's invaded, you see all kinds of anger. Maybe fear too, I don't know. And so we asked the psychic to ask the little kitty, this new kitty, how is it that she's with us now? What happened? What about her previous home? And she said, they put me out. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't know whether they really did, but that's her perception of it. They put me out. And so we asked, well, do you want to go back? No. they don't want me. Well, where do you want to be? Do you like where you are? Yes, but I'm not sure that's Mary and I, want to keep me, because we're not actually. And she says, I want to be in a place where I'm wanted.
Mm.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, of course, you don't have to, who knows whether the pet psychic's insights here are correct or not, but let's just assume they are for interest. Isn't it amazing the thoughts that animals have? And they're not necessarily what we think that they are. See, I thought Emmy would be delighted to have another little cat to play with. Well, forget that. She doesn't want the cat. The little kitty thinks it's wonderful to have Emmy to play with, but Emmy is not interested in playing. The psychic said Emmy is an old woman, grumpy, just wants it her way, wants what she wants when she wants it. The kitty is just a playful thing that runs at you and jumps up in the air at you and then whirls around and chases something else. Emmy wants to have nothing to do with that. It is so interesting. Well, do we think that God has put us out? Just turned us out? And do you think that you've come knocking on some other door of life, wherever you find yourself, and are now in a position where you're wondering if anybody wants you? And do you just want to be in a place where you're wanted? It seems that no man is an island to himself, as somebody has written sometime, someplace. And we all have that thought. We want to be where we're wanted. And that can have two levels. You can want to be physically in a place where physical beings want you. That's one level. That is a temporary level. That is a temporary solution. Anything physical is temporary. Nothing physical lasts forever, does it? So it cannot be your bottom level satisfaction. It can be a temporary satisfaction on your way to a place, and you want it to be a place where you're wanted forever. And I've always been wanted and will never not be wanted. We call that home. Now, a physical home may or may not satisfy. Well, most physical homes don't. Let me just simply insert. Most physical homes don't satisfy that requirement. At some point, you leave. And sometimes you're wanted back, and sometimes you're not. There are all kinds of permutations and possibilities there. But the more basic question is, what does God think of you? Because that's our present home. And when you return, are you going to be welcomed, or is there going to be a frown like, well, you're really not welcome here because you haven't done this, and that, whatever. Now, of course, it's unambiguous. Gives an unambiguous answer to this. It says God loves you forever. He will never stop loving his son, ever. And we are all his son. Well, why doesn't he show it more? Would be a thought that would pop into our minds. Because we see a lot of harm and destruction, sorrow and heartache in this place. In the emergency room.
Yes.
In war zones. You were talking about the vets, and you don't have to go those two places, by the way. Those are two of the worser type places. You can just simply try to go back home to your house, and maybe your brothers and sisters that you grew up with are not that happy to see you. It's all over the place. We do not have universal love and acceptance of all beings by all beings on this globe, nor are we close to it. Nor are necessarily are we even headed toward it or have it even as a goal. Some people have as a goal something more like, get out of my house. I want my house to myself. Please, please leave. The question I want to kind of focus on, I guess, here is, what is your thought about God with respect to you? And does he really want you back? And an answer to that might be along the lines, well, I'm sure he does when I'm acting right. But what about when I'm acting not so right? So we know there's an issue there, because we're not always universally kind and loving ourselves. And so can we, if we go to heaven, do we expect there to be two lines? Those who enter and those that you're not quite ready yet. However you might phrase that. Well, what we're doing here is getting ready. There really isn't a sign, by the way, there really won't be two lines. If you're not ready, you just won't, the opportunity, you will not have to confront it there. You have to confront it here. That's what we're doing. This is that other line. I mean, this is the place where there are lines of acceptance and lines of rejection. And the rejection can be violent, or it can just be verbal. I guess, well, verbal can be violent in a way, but it can be physically violent or verbally violent, or it can just be not interested in you. Well, the Course says that we're all connected. We just don't readily. I think I better get some water. Excuse me for a second. When I hear words coming over gravel, I just try to remember, when did I eat that gravel? I never can remember. What is your feeling about why you're not with God right now? I mean, I know there are gobs of answers that we can have, and I'm trying to suggest that we need to learn to be with God, because God loves all the time. And you only love a certain percentage of the time, probably. That's the way you might look at it that way. I don't know. It's an individual matter. So we're here learning to love. By the way, if that's true, and certain teachers do say that the lessons of earth are the lessons of love, learning to love. Where are you in that regard? And if you feel, well, yes, I understand there are lessons of love that I need to learn. Will you learn that from being around people that love you? I don't think so. You might be manifesting the result of your ability to love by being with other loving people and enjoying that exchange. But what are you learning? You're not learning anything. Well, we're always living. The Course says learning is living here, and you're always learning something, I suppose. But the real lessons of love come from your interactions with people that you don't like. That's where the lessons of love enter. When I go and to visit my sister who loves me, what do I learn about love? Well, I learned she loves me. Well, I already knew that, actually. See, well, I expressed it. Well, that's great. But I'm talking about learning to love. That means learning to love everyone. If there's one person you can't love, you haven't learned all the lessons of love. Why? Because there's that one person. You could be loving that and you're not. There's at least one lesson there unlearned. Does that make sense? We're here to learn to love everyone that we come in contact with in practice, at a practical level. That would mean that we hear about or come in contact with. So when you see a situation, when you are faced with a situation and you notice, ooh, I don't like that person. Ha ha. an opportunity, a lesson has rolled into your life here. Without it, if God were to take all those people out, you wouldn't learn your lessons of love. I think, to me, this just makes a lot of sense. I don't know whether it does to you or not, but it's kind of like it, to say in a simplistic way, you go up to St. Peter and his gate and you say, I'm ready to go into heaven. And he says, well, are there some people you don't love? Say, yeah, but they're not here. They're down that other place. And he said, there is no other place. There's just the learning place, which is earth, and here. I realize there are other planets, but let's not worry about that. And it said, is there anyone that you don't like it, that you can't express love towards? Well, there are a few. Well, you need to go back and learn to love them, or someone like them. Maybe it's a personality type you don't like. It may not be a particular individual, but more than likely it's a particular individual, whichever. It could be a whole group of people. Some people interact not toward an individual, but the whole group. I don't like that whole race. I don't like that whole gender. I don't like that whole nationality, whatever. I heard someone say, don't you just hate those da 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 da? And they put in a race. Oh, no, that's not what she said. She says, there are millions I said, oh, I hate all blank. And she put a race there. And I wasn't in a position to say anything about it. But if I had been, I would have said, well, do you know all of them? There are 10 million, Let's suppose I knew how many. And the answer would have been no. Of course, how can you know 10 million people? How do you know you hate them all? How do you know that? Well, I don't really need to address that person. A rational answer is irrelevant. There's some emotional base to that. I don't know what. It's not my problem. All I think I can do is be loving to everybody I see. And in case I happen to be around people from that race, I will be loving towards them. Our group, it doesn't have to be a race, by the way. Of course, it can be a group. How about criminals? It includes that group. It includes all groups. It includes everybody. Now, I want to hurry to point out that let's just pick a race. I'll pick Spaniards, because that was not it. I don't, suppose I think I don't like all Spaniards. Well, Bob, have you ever met a Spaniard? Well, not really. So you don't really even know one that you don't. Well, not really, but I hate all Spaniards. Basically, Bob, you don't know what you're talking about, do you? Well, not really. But I've got this emotional something or other that makes me want to say, I don't like Spaniards, Well, say, that's great, Bob. You got a lot of lessons here. You're at the right place. We got two hands simultaneously. I think I saw you first.
You've named a bunch of groups, but politics keeps being left out.
Well, it's
the hardest one right now, I think. We're doing okay with races, but politics seems to be different. Go ahead and argue or ignore me.
I don't see any difference personally.
I
But
place politics.
oh, we got another person.
Yeah, I get in my mind, your examples, I was placing all kinds of things. I was just allowing that to happen versus feeling like we can't get permission to talk about, because it steered me to give my mind permission to go ahead and think this scenario with politics without having him specifically state it. So I had an open window to go ahead. And I mean, that's the way my mind works. So it was working for me, Sorry. Did that make sense? Sort of?
Yes.
Okay.
I went with the race thing because I actually heard that. You know, I mean, I was just remembering a particular person saying a particular thing. Yes, ma'am.
In this video that I think I'm having, I've never met these two individuals, but I can say that I have not experienced love towards them. One being Hitler and the other being O.J. Simpson. So I have lessons.
You have two lessons. I mean, you know, it's good that you recognize them. You know, yeah.
I think what we're talking about here is perceived differences, whether it's a race or a gender or a group or whatever.
Right.
And our whole lesson is to learn that we're all exactly the same. And if we have a problem with somebody, we have a problem with ourselves. That's our main lesson.
Right. Yeah. I don't mind. Politics is not the biggest one for me.
Me either.
I don't know what the biggest one is. Emmy. Okay. No, not really. Not really. But what I have decided that about politics, it has the biggest, it is more seductive. It will exert a greater pull than race for most people. And so it becomes apparent to me that you replace that with zero interest. That's the answer. Zero interest. No preference whatsoever. Don't give a frickin' flickin' who does what when. That doesn't mean I can't stay conversant with what's going on. It just means I insert no preference. It doesn't mean I can't vote. It's just I just make sure you don't care who wins. But it's just that would be an activity. It doesn't mean I can't mow the yard, even though I know the weeds are going to grow right back. You know. But I like mowing the yard, so I will do that. But that is my solution. And why do I have that as a solution? You know, it's like you think of the world here, and it's like a seesaw thing, and there's one party and there's the other party, and which goes which way. You don't have to know that. That's not necessary. It's not real anyhow. God doesn't care about that. He cares about your lessons of love. And so if the seesaw is tilting this way, I don't like these. I do. Oh, great. There are ones you don't like. Fantastic. You've identified some lessons of love, but it really does go back to something in you. They haven't hurt. Hey, have they hurt you? You know, and it is real for an awful lot of people. So when I'm talking about groups, I just want to be inclusive to include all groups of whatever type, some other type we haven't thought about. But what I'm saying, and I'm asserting for you to hear, I don't care whether you pay attention to it, that's your business, is that zero interest in the outcome is the solution. Well, I don't like that one. Well, that's okay. Who said you had to adopt it? I'm not saying it. But you must do because how about 0.1? Could I have a 10% interest? Well, this one probably not, because there's too much pull associated with it because of, I don't know why exactly. It just is. You must not care, because the only thing that you can to care about here is, are they learning their lessons of love, and can I contribute to that in some way or other? And that's called being truly helpful. You just want to do other things. You want to save the world. I think I get in politics. I want, here are these people. These say this should work. These should say this should work. Well, I'm smarter. Surely I'm as smart as they are. I will pick the one that I think works, and then I will just go root for that one. Well, it's just a fruitless activity. You're doing nothing good. You're playing a game and forgetting it's a game. That's all I can think of, you know. You're playing Monopoly and you happen to get $10,000 and you run out with the $10,000 bill and get halfway to the store when it hits you. Uh-oh, they're not going to honor this Monopoly money. In other words, it's not real. This is really important, not just for politics, but for the world at large. The politics is just a piece of it. The world is not going to last forever, people. It's going to collapse at some point. I mean, it's clear as a bell. If it's not going to collapse tomorrow, maybe the day after, the whole financial system could collapse. Easy. That the only solution to that is to not seek the solution to it in the same arena that the problem exists in. You must solve the problem from the vantage point of another arena, and that arena, in our opinion, is a spiritual one. You see, and so your one call is to pay no attention to it. Well, if you can pull in the facts without making judgments and doing preferences, that's fine. But if you can't, just don't bother. There's nothing there. Neither political party has the solution to where the world needs to be. Where the world needs to be is nowhere.
No world.
No world. I mean that literally, absolutely, and unambiguously. No world. If you want the world, then when you're at Heaven's Gate, you will be asking, is there a world over there? I love worlds. Oh, they're down there. There's no hell. They're just worlds.
Which is hell.
Which can be, absolutely. It is because anything that's not universal love at all times for all beings is actually hell. And so we all want to be where we are wanted. God is calling all the time for you. And you're giving him a third finger. I just say this crude. I like to be crude for some reason. It gets your attention. You're giving him the third finger. You're saying, that's not what, well, that makes him angry. Actually, it does not make him angry at all. You just get more love. You can't insult God. It's just not a possibility. You see, he's calling you right now with love. That is your future. Actually, it's your past, your present, and your future, all lumped into one, into a timeless state of eternal peace and joy and creativity. But we need to be here for a while because we reject that to some extent or other. Now, if you really don't reject that, and that's all you want, then I've got to ask you, what do you do during the day? What do you like to do during the day? Well, I like to play chess and beat that guy over across the street who's been winning recently. Well, that's fine. That has nothing to do with love, does it? There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that. The games we play, what games do you play? People are game players. They don't care about truth. They care about having a conflict of some sort and then making decisions which side of the team, which team do you want to belong to? You want to be the red shirts or not? You remember, used to go to the gym and you play basketball or something. This team, you divide up teams, I used to do that at the Y every weekend, go to the Y. What was nice there is that it was a team that didn't continue. Nobody on the team cared whether they won. They were playing basketball. They didn't really. They may not even be keeping score. Probably weren't. Too much trouble. They were just playing basketball. And everybody has a good time, you might say. Or, well, I don't know what everybody did. I always had a good time. I thought it was great. I thought it even better that I didn't have to ask my parents to take me there. I could jump on the bus for a dime and get there in 5 minutes myself. We live 1 block away from the bus route. Things like that don't happen anymore, you know. Everybody has these cars, but when I grew up, buses were wonderful. That's all I thought. At any rate, the only thing politics does, it's the same thing, anything, it gives you an opportunity to choose sides, and it's arbitrary. Oh, no, but there's more truth with that side than that side. No, there's not. The sides don't know truth. They're not even seeking truth. And if they did, bless their hearts, they wouldn't be able to find it. Maybe some of them are. I don't mean to say they aren't, all of them. I don't know. But they're not going to be able to find it because they're not going to be thinking at the spiritual. None of them are going to get up and say, I don't think the world is real. And if I'm elected, I'll just doze most of the time. If it's not real, you don't have to attend to it. You know, nor am I, by the way, I'm not saying that I regret that these people want to do their activities. I'm happy that they want to do their activities. You know, this is the world, and it is the learning place for a lot of people. And we all want to focus on how convenient the situations are. In other words, do we have famine or do we have food? You know, it makes a big deal to us. But what we really want is just to learn the lesson of love in whatever situation is before us. That's all. Once you learn all of them, you're through. Now, if you want to stay here and minister other people, continuing to be truly helpful, well, you can. I'm sure nobody's going to care. The Course says that you have actually already picked out the time in your existence, whether it be in this life or some future life, at which you will say, okay, I'm through. I've learned it all. I'm going home now. You've already picked out the time, along with consulting with the Holy Spirit. It's already picked out. You know, maybe it's 2 years from now. Maybe it's the next lifetime. It doesn't matter. You, nobody else, have already chosen. You don't remember doing that, but it's done. And at that time, you will be through with the lessons here. You and the Holy Spirit knew enough about how good you're going to be doing with your lessons to know that by that time they're all done. And will you want to go at that time? Yeah, I think I would. Or do you want to stay a little while? Maybe I want to stay a little while longer. Whatever. You've chosen. And learning will proceed until then. So it's not a matter about focusing on how serious the problems look. That's just a deception. If something's not real, can it be more seriously unreal than another unreal thing? It's just unreal. But what's the point of it? For you to learn the lessons of love. That's it. What else are you putting there? That's your choice. Don't complain about it. Well, I don't care. You can complain about it here. You're welcome to complain out here if you want to. But I'm suggesting to you don't spend too much time complaining about it because you're not getting anything done doing that. It's not benefiting you, you know. But you're allowed. There's nothing wrong with it if you want to go and just complain all the time. Hey, the world allows that too. The world allows whatever diversion you want to follow, you know, or at least try to follow. God doesn't prevent it. The world itself may object, but I mean, God allows you to try to be the revolutionary, to try to be the pacifist, to try to be the breadwinner, whatever, you know. And you don't have to do any of those things. It's not necessary. Well, going back to the little kitty, I asked the psychic about the kitty, and I asked her what she wanted to do. Does she want to go home? Maybe I said this already. I don't recall now. She said, no, they don't want me. I think I did say it, but they don't want me. I just want to be in a place where I'm wanted. And And so that made me think, well, I think maybe our house can be such a place, I think it can. But we do have a problem with Emmy, so we're gonna see how we can do with that. But this is a delightful kitty, by the way.
You may be surprised at some things that will happen.
Well, we've already been surprised. The kitty came to the door and was knocking,
Yes.
basically knocking on the door and ringing the
Yes.
doorbell.
Right.
And we brought her in, and within a week, she brought a really wonderful lesson to Mary about something that involved a cat earlier in her life.
Uh-huh.
So, and it was a pretty significant thing, something she just pushed aside because she didn't know how to deal with it. And then the little kitty showed, okay, here's a way to deal with this, And the kitty is one you can just pick up and put
Yes.
wherever.
Yes.
A lot of cats, you pick them up and they get stiff, or they start hissing a little bit, or complain or moaning because they don't like it. This one just no problem. But she does get into everything. She does get into everything. Yes.
I'm amazed how animals leave an impression. When our son was home 30 years ago, he had a cat, and our driveway is probably the length of a football field coming in.
Yeah.
And our son had a Volkswagen, and he had a downshift, with a straight shift. And that cat could be in the farthest end of our house. And as soon as it heard Bill, that shifting, it was gone. He was gonna meet him at the door. And so now, like our son's been married 20 years, so this has been over 20 years ago. This cat existed in our lives.
Right.
And someone asked me about it the other day. When you started telling the cat story, I thought, no, I just did not realize it was a joy for us to have the cat and for him to respond to Bill. But it was,
You got to start home, we can rub on.
We're waiting for a minute to give you all an
She's got-
opportunity to leave.
She's in problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Back.
You know what? She may need a brace like I have on.
Oh,
Yeah, you can go. Are you going in there?
I got something like that.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
That can be very helpful.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's,
sorry,
it's
too.
okay. No problem.
I got to put something up on her back.
Okay, okay.
We appreciate y'all coming,
Yes, we do.
staying as long as you
Yes,
have stayed.
and we certainly understand.
Well, I was thinking about the initial thing that
Yes.
Merritt said about everybody, we're all in, or maybe it was, Paul said, we're all in pain. Many people- Physical, there are
Yeah.
little points on it.
Well, the course teaches you don't have to learn in pain, but it doesn't say you can't learn in pain. We all know that pain is a great teacher,
Yeah.
and I'm very well familiar with that because my daughter has great pain. Not so much anymore, but she has just had terrible pain. So much it just dropped her to the floor one day.
Yeah.
Because the reason that happens, by the way, is because she didn't pay attention to the little signs of pain.
Yeah.
And how you feeling, Laura? Oh, great. Give me some more work to do. The pain gets bigger. How you feeling, Laura? Oh, fine. Give me some more work to do. And one day,
Yeah.
she went into the ladies' room and collapsed on the floor and assumed the position. And she explained to me one time, she says, Dad, I could not move away from that position even by a fraction of an inch because my body automatically assumed the position where the pain is minimal and it will refuse to move from that. And you have to pick her up on a stretcher and take them to the hospital, put some fluids in her that will counteract that. We are the great proud race of beings that refuse to learn from little things and have to be hit with a huge brick of pain to even get us to say we have a problem. Sometimes, not all the time. And what the course is saying, that's great, but it's not the only, it doesn't say it's great, but it doesn't condemn you for it. That's okay. It's part of the learning experience here, but there is a gentler way and you try to move towards it.
And I'm going to speak out of line here a little bit.
We don't
but,
care.
She is close to more fully acknowledging that her way. And that's what's important to us is that, and in a very physical, practical way, tangible way, she's getting signals and there's more tests and stuff. So, don't want to share a lot because even though mom wouldn't care probably, but I just want to share with you comfort wise. She's learning, and we want it to be her way. And
Right.
there's signals that it's definitely coming.
Yeah.
So that's. I know I'm not being really clear, but that's probably best I want to say is that she's very active and independent physically and mentally in different ways. That's her blessing, but also
Right.
her curse. So if you want, but
Well, that's a blessing and a
yeah.
curse for all of us. I mean,
yeah. Just, but
You know.
anyway, she's getting close, and there's a lot of different things that are going on family wise in her that are helping with that. So,
right.
but-
Well, pain can help you in that regard because we're so stubborn, to say it simply put. So I would suggest listening to pain
Yeah.
and asking pain, what are you trying to tell me? Please help me. And ask the Holy Spirit to help me see what this lesson is as clearly and quickly and easily as possible. And also the course is encourage us not to take medicine and all that, but it says that when appropriate, that medicine is required, and it's required, then it serves a useful purpose because it can keep fear from even getting bigger. The thing is that the course is not against your feeling okay. It really isn't. It just wants to help you learn from whatever the situation is. So I always encourage people to try to minimize symptoms, but don't forget where the responsibility lies. And here's the reason for that. This is a good thing to remember from the course's viewpoint. If you're not feeling well, you have chosen to not feel well in that particular way, but without even realizing it.
Yeah.
You've already made that choice. That's your choice. Jesus says, I can't overrule your choice. He respects free will too much. God can't even overrule your choice. So therefore, as long as you say, I now accept responsibility for making that choice, and now I'm choosing again, Jesus said, wow, I can now go in and do something for this person.
Yes.
You see,
That's
You-
where it's,
that opens the door.
she's.
Well, you get there at your own
We've
pace.
had our emergency room experience with her with that, like about a week and a half ago.
Oh,
So, but so there's just a lot of things that are coming together, and we're
Seems to me we're all talking about using the body as a communication device
And a learning device.
Yes.
and a
A
learning
learning
device.
device,
Asking your body, help me understand what I can do to help this pain that I'm experiencing.
Yes, and to help me learn from it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Because we want to leave it behind. Yes.
We may start there, doesn't mean we have to
Right.
stay there.
Right.
You see. Is there any final comment? Because it's probably time to leave now. But if there's anything that's not wrapped up, needs to be wrapped up further or whatever, commented on. Because pain is a great teacher, and learn from it quick and get rid of it.
Yes. Yes.
As quickly as you can.
Yes.
Okay,
I
thank you.
agree.
Thanks,
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, that was a great lesson.
You would love to run the interview.
Oh, you're too pretty with it.
Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you participating and joining us.